Let's look at 5 fallacies used by narcissists and ask ourselves the question, is this the same thing with dog culture? Is dog culture like narcissism? I believe dog culture is narcissism because it's all about controlling something that is not made to be controlled. Making a dog be a family member, a fanged predator. So let's have a look at the casual fallacy first. This occurs when someone mistakenly assumes there to be a cause and effect of relationship between two events. This can be achieved in various ways by oversimplifying an obviously complex situation, by falsely attributing blame to a victim, by jumping to conclusions without evidence. This is like when a dog attacks a toddler. They will always say, well, the breeder must have been bad. They didn't do something right with the dog. There's always some human somewhere that did something wrong when a dog kills a human toddler. They sit around calling dogs family. They sit around saying that dogs are protectors. Dogs kill many humans. We're approaching 30 human deaths as of 2025, and somehow it's the problem of the little children or the women that have been killed. And that fits the casual fallacy. Let's read a little more. These fallacies are dangerous in confrontations. They serve to manipulatively distort the victim's sense of reality. That sounds like dog attacks too, like they're trying to distort our sense of reality. Maybe it was your fault. Maybe you didn't do this, you didn't do that, you didn't buy this right product. A toddler dies in the daycare because 2 Rottweilers killed the toddler, and they got all these crazy reasons of why it might have happened, instead of focusing on the fact that you were putting a little toddler next to a predator. Check out this example that they use. A narcissist might claim, "You made me yell at you by stressing me out." Ha! They say that about dog attacks all the time. Why was the toddler put in the hospital for 2 weeks with several units of blood and scars and a ripped open face? Oh, the little doggy, he got stressed out and he was just resource guarding. Yep, they do that all the time. Look what you made me do. Yeah, this is to imply that their anger was a direct result of the victim's actions. That's dog culture. That is right out of dog culture. Everything is always the fault of some random human. Somebody didn't do something right. Somebody is wrong. And they completely forget about the fact that you have a fanged predator, a mutant, a forcibly inbred creature living in your house that you're calling family. A creature that eats your couch, attacks your toddlers, pisses all over your property, yet you call it family. Wow. And notice this part right here. It says, while simultaneously ignoring the fact that they chose to act aggressively. Yes, a dog acts aggressively, yet somehow it's somebody's fault. Somebody's car horn was too loud, a baby cried too much, etc., etc. Let's go to our next fallacy. It's called the burden of proof. So the burden of proof fallacy doesn't serve to conjure up false narratives nor ignore or refute points that have been made. Instead, it occurs when someone shifts responsibility of proving a claim onto the person who initially made it. It's the same thing with dog culture. We're constantly having to prove that the dog is at fault. And then they throw all these things at us, like we talked about before. We got to do an investigation. We got to see where the dog was bred. We got to figure out what the dog's history was. Did it have vaccinations? Did you feed the dog properly? Did you house the dog properly? Did you reduce the dog's stress properly and get the new special all organic chewies for him? There is always some burden of proof when something goes wrong with dogs. Dogs shitting all over the public park and people not picking it up. It's like everybody will say, well, my dog wouldn't do that. It says Yet, in great similarity to other fallacies, this tactic serves to evade accountability. Yeah, dog owners are always evading accountability. I mean, they get a dog, they have 4 dogs in their house, and they get a pit bull. The pit bull starts attacking their dogs, and then they want to get rid of the pit bull. It's always something like that. It's always some type of control freak behavior that we have to force upon ourselves. So it says this demands unreasonable or impossible level of evidence from the accuser. Yeah, and one of the reasons it's impossible is because everybody out there is a dog worshiper, anyways. So anything we say that's even true about dog ownership, it's like, well, you're not an expert, or you haven't met enough pit bulls. Oh, your friend was killed by a pit bull. Well, you haven't met enough pit bulls. It's this burden of proof, as it says right here. This ridiculous, impossible, even as it says right here, impossible. You're trying to prove something to a bunch of dog worshippers, and then you try to prove it, and you're just wasting your time. Let's look at the example right here. It says the victim might say, "You've been lying to me." The narcissist would simply respond, "Well, then prove it." Even if there's very clear circumstances of evidence to support the claim, they refuse or acknowledge no wrongdoing. It's like if a pack of stray dogs in Texas attacks and kills a bicyclist and a toddler, and you talk about that in a conversation in social media, people will say, "Well, I don't believe that story," or they'll say, "Well, my dog never did it." They're just putting this burden of proof back on you because they won't even look at the facts. It says that is unless the victim proves absolute, irrefutable proof, which makes it all the more difficult to hold them accountable. Yeah. Narcissists rely on the burden of proof when they are acutely aware of how challenging it will be for their victim to distinctly or undeniably evince their description or manipulation. Yeah. Like with the dog attack, it's hard to speak to the toddler or speak to the parents or even speak to the police officers because they don't want to look bad. They don't want to talk bad about dogs. So, of course, they'll mild the situation down too. So, any type of burden of proof that we need to prove our point about dog ownership, we're just met with a narcissist society, a dog worshiping society that demands the burden of proof, as it says right here. But it's like basically impossible, like it says, because they're all dog worshippers, and no matter what happens, they'll have 50 different excuses lined up for the dog. You did something wrong. The dog wasn't bred properly. Their dog would never do what you said you saw a dog do. Yeah. How about the appeal to nature fallacy, number 3, right here? The appeal to nature fallacy erroneously assumes that something is good, right, or acceptable by claiming it's natural. Yeah, people think dogs are natural. They think dogs are just supposed to be living up in your house, chewing holes in your door, barking all day, biting people, running around. And then they call themselves animal lovers, right? Or nature lovers. And so they fill their lives with dogs. Barking dogs, they stink, they have skin problems, they're constantly coughing and hacking from breathing all that pet dander. But they'll say, "Oh, it's natural," ha ha ha. They'll put their little toddlers in their backyard and let their 2 cane corsos knock the toddler face first into mud puddles with the toddler crying. But it's natural. It's just a dog doing what dogs do. Let's read some more. The appeal to nature oversimplifies objectively harmful behaviors by attributing these to biology or tradition rather than personal choice. The victim is falsely led to believe that they are impossible to condemn. Yeah, that's like dogs. You can't condemn anything a dog does because it's like, "Oh, that's just what they do." People will let their dogs go off leash because it's like, "That's what he did when he was in nature." And then the dog will jump off a cliff and cost $45,000 of tax money to get the dog recovered. But, oh, it's natural. It's natural. Yeah. This appeal to nature thing, guys, read this when you got some time. The appeal to nature fallacy is right out of dog culture. But let's skip up to number 4, appeal to ignorance. So the appeal to ignorance fallacy in many ways is similar to the burden of proof, however, it rests on a different fault. It's assumption that lack of evidence against something automatically makes it true, or conversely, that the lack of evidence for something makes it false. This is a lot like people that owned a pit bull and their pit bull didn't kill anybody. And it's like, well, my pit bull didn't do anything, and you can't prove that my pit bull did anything. A bunch of toddlers have been killed by pit bulls, but there's no evidence against my dog, so, they're not going to listen to you. So this is used to exploit uncertainty by twisting it into certainty. It's like, oh, something happened bad with your dog, some bad thing, dog hoarding, dogs killing other dogs. But, it's probably your fault. You didn't do anything wrong or didn't do anything right. And so it's like it says right here, they're exploiting uncertainty. Dog owners are always uncertain, like, oh, maybe I did something wrong, or oh, maybe, everybody else's dog didn't have this problem. So maybe I'm something's wrong. So they're exploiting uncertainty by this. It says here as an example, if you can't prove I've done anything wrong, then I haven't. It's like, just because, like, for example, you're not a dog training expert or a dog nutrition expert, they're going to tell you, well, you don't know enough to have an opinion about all these toddlers being killed by dogs. So they're appealing to your ignorance. They're exploiting one little thing that you might be uncertain about a dog situation, and then they use it much like the burden of proof. As it mentions here, it pressures you to produce impossible evidence. It's basically manufacturing an ignorance in you about the dog ownership and then making you prove that you're not ignorant. It's a trick. They've manufactured the ignorance for you, and they're forcing you to prove that you're not ignorant. Yeah. Like it says right here, pretending that not having definite proof is the same thing as being exonerated. So if there's a pit bull that has to get dragged into the back of an animal control van because a toddler is mauled or a teenage girl is dead, but several investigators haven't been able to prove that somehow it was the dog's fault, then they'll say, oh, all cane corsos are great dogs. The reason that dog killed a human was because of some impossible evidence, just like in the other fallacies. Yeah. Yep. And as it says here, this tactic is effective in emotionally complex situations. And typically, dog culture situations are emotionally complex. Dog owners will fight amongst each other over barking and piss and shit complaints. Dog owners watch their friends get killed by their other friends' dogs. Most dog attacks happen in familiar situations around family and friends on familiar property. So it's a very emotional situation. And then dog owner dog owner X comes along and he's like, "Well, I have a dog and he's a good dog and he would never hurt nobody. So what are you guys talking about?" And it makes you feel like somehow you're ignorant for having an issue with dog ownership. Yeah. Let's go to number 5. Appeal to personal incredulity. This fallacy serves to dismiss something as false simply because it sounds unbelievable or difficult to understand. Exactly. When I talk to people about how many cane corsos have killed people, how XL bullies kill people, when I talk to people about the parasites and epithelium harming particles that come off of the skin of a dog, when I talk to people about the CO2 that a dog breathes into your bedroom that can disrupt your sleep, when I say that barking causes stress and that causes stress eating, people look at me like I'm some type of stupid piece of shit moron. They'll even make rude comments and thinly veiled death threats against me, calling me a dog hater. And it's because as these dog worshippers, when you tell them anything that's real, read this part right here. Unbelievable or difficult to understand. For a dog worshiper, simple facts and logic are difficult to understand or unbelievable. And it's just like a pit bull attack. It's just like a German shepherd attacking somebody. Most people don't go and look that up. Most people don't ask about that. And most people won't be told about that because we live in a dog worshiping society. Like, read this example right here. That's ridiculous. I would never do that. That's exactly what dog owners say all the time. What? What? There's a bunch of problems from dog ownership and barking and all this stuff? That's ridiculous. Yeah. And look what it says here. They dismiss it as outrightly being absurd because, as opposed to taking the time to disprove their claim or apologize. When will a dog owner ever apologize for barking or apologize for shit all over your yard? They won't. They'll act like it's absurd. How dare you have a problem with toddlers being mauled? How dare you have a problem with the stink of dogs? How dare you? That's absurd. You're a dog hater. Yeah, that's the appeal to personal incredulity. As a dog culture critic, that's how you get treated. All you got to do is speak the truth, and now you're incredulous, you're crazy, you're absurd. How dare you? How dare you? Yeah. So there we go. That's 5 control tactics from narcissism that are clearly and obviously present in all of dog culture. So which one of these have you guys noticed the most? The appeal to incredulity, or the appeal to ignorance, or appeal to nature, burden of proof, or casual? For me, the top 2 from dog culture is going to be appeal to nature, because people always say that. Oh, that's just what dogs do. They just bite and bark and knock us over and break our furniture. Let's take videos of it and put it on TikTok. Look at that. My new furniture got ruined. Ha ha ha. But I love him because he's a dog and I'm a dog lover. Yeah, appeal to nature is a top one. And for me, the appeal to incredulity, that's the one. Because all you have to do is mention something to a dog owner like, hey, did you know that constant barking can make you want to stress eat? And they'll just be like, no, that's crazy. What are you, like a doctor? You're not a doctor. Shut your mouth. Everything that you say about dog ownership, even if it's proven, even if you have all the evidence, this logical fallacy number 5, appeal to incredulity, basically they're acting like you're absurd. That's the top one. Yeah. What do you guys think? See you later.